Welcome! Today we're going to be exploring the work of the French philosopher and civilizational diagnostician Jacques Ellul. His insights really help us understand a condition that, well, many of us are already living inside, even if we can't quite put a name to it.
So, to really get a handle on Ellul's diagnosis, we're going to move through 5 parts. First, we'll get to know the man himself. Then, we'll dive into his most important concept. It's one that gets misunderstood a lot. From there, we'll look at how this concept actually reshapes our thinking. We'll also clarify what Ellul's work is supposed to be and what it's not. And finally, we'll explore why this diagnosis is maybe more relevant today than ever before.
All right, so let's start with the man himself. It's really crucial to understand that Jacques Ellul wasn't just some abstract thinker in an ivory tower. His ideas were forged in the fire of direct lived experience.
Ellul was a French philosopher, a sociologist, and a historian. He taught at the University of Bordeaux, and he was also an active member of the French resistance during World War II. Now, this is the key part. His entire body of work grew directly out of what he saw and lived through. He was dealing with bureaucracy, propaganda, and the sheer overwhelming force of administrative power. So his diagnosis of civilization, it wasn't theoretical. It was grounded in observation.
And, he wrote more than 60 books, which is incredible. But there's one core idea, one central concept that is absolutely key to unlocking his entire contribution. So let's take a look at what that is. And that brings us right to the heart of Ellul's thought, his central concept, which he called la technique. This is without a doubt his most important and also his most frequently misunderstood term. You see, his most famous book is called The Technological Society, and that title can throw you off. It's not really about technology in the way we usually think of it. It's not about our phones or our laptops. It's about a specific kind of logic, a way of thinking that has come to organize our entire world. So, what is technique? For Ellul, it's not a physical thing. It's a governing principle. It's the deep-down logic that now structures, well, pretty much every part of modern life. But to be absolutely precise, let's just use Ellul's own words. Ellul uses the word technique to mean the totality of methods rationally developed for absolute efficiency in every field of human activity. So, what happens when this relentless pursuit of efficiency becomes the highest value, the king, so to speak, of a society? Well, the logic starts to take over. Whatever can be done must be done. Whatever is faster automatically replaces whatever is slower, and whatever we can count and measure starts to completely override the things that are qualitative, the things we can't put a number on. And this is the crucial turning point. Technique becomes autonomous. It no longer serves human ends, humans adapt to it. The system stops being our tool. Instead, we become a part of the system, adapting ourselves to serve it.
Okay. This leads us to what might be Ellul's most powerful insight. The effects of technique aren't just external. They're not just out there in society. They are internal. They get inside our heads and actually reshape the way we think.
Under the total rule of technique, these core parts of being human get reconfigured for maximum efficiency. Thinking gets reduced to just its instrumental use, what it can do. Language becomes simple, functional communication. Knowledge gets flattened into data points. Time becomes nothing but a schedule. And even our relationships start to be judged by their utility. Ellul captures this totalizing effect with a perfect, chilling phrase. Technique becomes the habitat in which thought lives. It's not just one influence among many. It's the very environment, the very air that our thinking has to breathe. And of course, living inside a habitat like that produces certain psychological changes. We start to prefer speed over depth. We want quick answers instead of patient inquiry. We crave a sense of control over having to sit with uncertainty. And we start prioritizing function over the search for meaning. So, after hearing this pretty stark diagnosis, the natural question is, okay, what do we do about it? And this is where we have to be extremely clear about Ellul's specific role. He saw himself as a diagnostician, a threshold figure. And he deliberately stops right there. Let's just be absolutely clear. Ellul does not give you a 10-step plan. He offers no practices, no methods, no solutions, and no alternative systems to adopt. His purpose is something else entirely. His goal is to show us the edge, the boundary. Ellul brings thought to a limit condition. Here, instrumental thinking can go no further. He shows us the exact point where our dominant way of thinking just completely runs out of road. And just as importantly, what comes after that limit is not Ellul's work.
He defines the problem with a clarity that's almost unmatched, but he leaves the question of what comes next for the rest of us to figure out. He also punctures any easy fantasies we might have about just getting away from it all. Ellul was clear. There is no complete outside to technological society. The idea that you can simply opt out or step away is, in his view, a total illusion. So that brings us to our last section, and it's a big question. If Ellul doesn't offer a cure, and he says there's no real escape, then why does this diagnosis matter so much? Why is it so important right now? Well, it's because his entire body of work provides the definitive answer to a really fundamental question. Why would anyone need to think differently? Why should we even bother? The answer is incredibly simple and direct. Ellul explains why modern thinking feels exhausted. He gives a name and a structure to that widespread feeling of being depleted, that sense that our old ways of solving problems just seem to be creating new ones. And this right here is probably the most crucial takeaway of all. That struggle you might feel, that sense of cognitive burnout or fragmentation, it is not a personal failing. It is a systemic condition. Ellul completely reframes the problem for us. And for that reason, any real response can't just be about self-improvement. As our source material concludes, dreaming thought into being is not self-help. It has to be an experiment in creating entirely new conditions for thought itself. Ellul's diagnosis doesn't give us the map for that experiment, but it does explain with chilling clarity exactly why that experiment has become so necessary.